Hey, welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. Normally, these episodes are very fun and lighthearted, and this one, not exactly our favorite episode to do, but we know many people are curious about it. We're going to talk about the Deshaun Foster firing. I know there are some UCLA fans that are happy about this. Obviously, I mean, it's not been particularly a great start to the season, but you still would like to have Bruin Source on with other circumstances. But it's always a pleasure to have Bruin Source on. Our guy Kevin from there. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. Can you just tell people where they can find you and your content at before we get started?
Great to be here. We were joking off air, and Zach, on our preview show, we talked about maybe coming on for the 10-2 show, which was a joke then. It was a joke then. We are now 0-3. That is no longer mathematically possible to happen. But we are here for a different one. We are Bruin Source. You can find us on Twitter. Handle is Bruin Source. Our podcasts usually come out in the early parts of the week. You can find it on anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole deal. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of folks will be interested in the coming weeks about what's to come.
For sure, for sure. And as always, got Zach, right hand man, with us here, and Zach's gonna ask the hard hitting questions today. I'm gonna ask the fun ones, and Zach can have the other ones.
I feel like that plays well with what generally happens. JR is the Grand Admiral of fun, and I am the Grand Admiral of despair and depression. So
we got a lot of both of that going on right now. So, this will go well.
You fit just fine. All right. Well, let's just start kind of everything overarching, Kevin. So obviously, Deshaun Foster fired 0-3 to start the season. Obviously, fans are not happy about the start of the season. I assume fans are somewhat happy about moving on from the head coach. However, there is some issue there. Obviously, Deshaun Foster, a beloved player, did such a good job there. He comes back, he's a running back coach, and it just doesn't work out. So there is some sadness there with that. But I'm just curious, your reaction, kind of what do you think the fan base, where are they at? Where's everything at right now?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is unprecedented, not just it's really unprecedented for UCLA, but I would say in all of collegiate athletics to fire a coach after 15 games. I don't know that it's happened before. I didn't go look it up before this, but I don't know that it's happened. And I think the prevailing sentiment that's pretty consistent across all of this is, look, Deshaun Foster was not set up for success. He was put into an impossible situation coming in February, in the aftermath of Chip Kelly. I think any fan who was following the program and knew the state of the roster at that point in time saw that this was kind of a barrel rolling down a mountain coming to this very point right here, where, the roster is about to get worse and worse. And we kind of talked about it in our previous shows, right? Like how unbalanced the depth chart was. You'd have so many spots of senior walk-on or senior freshman. And like that time bomb was ticking. And so Deshaun Foster was cast into that, never having been a head coach before, never having been a coordinator before. He was on his way to coach running backs for the Las Vegas Raiders before, all this had went down. And so it's sad. And look, he's not a victim here. He took the job, he got paid a ton of money and the whole deal, right? And he made mistakes along the way in a lot of ways. So look, he's not a victim. You wish it wouldn't have happened to an alum, a proud alum like Deshaun Foster, who was a great player and good in the NFL and the whole deal, right? And so the reaction, I think, is not really placed on him, and it's to the whole process that got us to this point. We wanted this to work. We came on these preview shows every year wanting this to work. We talked about that. We all kind of knew in the back of our mind, right? Like this was going to be a tall task for anyone, let alone Deshaun Foster coming into that point. Again, I would say if you ever look for, as fans, you want hope. You always want, something to look forward to. And I would say the glimmer of hope at this point in time for UCLA is it's been a wild 48 hours from the New Mexico game to get to here right now. Fans have definitely made their voice heard. Donors have made their voice heard. There's a new chancellor in place and the whole deal, which I'm sure we're going to get into all these different things. Crazy things like this, again, certainly don't happen at UCLA, but anywhere, firing a coach after 15 games, unless people are really wanting to make a change about it. And again, I think the anger at this point in time is placed in the right spot, which is, it's not Deshaun. It's a broader symptomatic process of how you got to Deshaun and how you got to this point. And I think people, it seems, have identified that that's the actual issue.
Kevin, I appreciate that I feel like it's a good segue to an article that I was reading kind of before we came on. Los Angeles Times writer Bill Plaschke wrote an article talking about Martin Jarmon, the athletic director, and basically is saying if UCLA wants to avoid disaster, he cannot make the next coaching hire, which I think maybe leads to my question is, like, how deep does the change have to happen if UCLA is going to get this right? Because it doesn't seem like, even based on what you were saying, this is not just, well, we just need to hire the best next coach. It seems like it's much deeper than that.
Yeah, I think it's valuable to just quickly retrace like this, right? Martin Jarmon came in 2021, right after COVID, and I think you all know my feelings on the Chip Kelly experiment. Everyone knows our feelings on that. There were multiple times to kind of get out of that. 2021, I think, was the earliest point to get out of it, when UCLA had gone through their worst 4-year period since the Treaty of Berlin was signed in 1945. So like that, I think, would have been a good time to get out of that experiment. 2023, I think, was, just unanimity in the fan base that this needed to happen. UCLA had just lost at home to a 2-win Arizona State team with a tight end at quarterback. They had lost 33-7 at home to a 5-6 Cal team. And again, we knew what the state of the roster was. Like, this boulder was coming, and that change needed to happen. And keeping him on board at that point, when he himself then realized the boulder was coming and went out looking for every single job, then extended his staff so that you have financial commitments, tied to the staff. And then he leaves. Then you're stuck with a staff that you've paid all this money to, and you have to hire. So like all of these things, I mean, the process to get to this point starts well before Deshaun Foster. It looks like UCLA has realized this. And so if you read a lot of the things coming out today, Martin Jarmon is definitely not going to be alone in making this decision. Depending on who you believe, he may not make the decision. Right. Different levels to this, a lot of discussion out there, and it's all, posted in various forums at this point online and whatnot about, is UCLA going to go and get a GM for football that is actually not directly tied to the athletic director? Is Jarmon himself going to be here for the long run? And, getting rid of an athletic director does have, like, it's a longer process than just firing someone. So these are active conversations right now. The thing at UCLA is, it's a massive school, massive institution. Every athletic director is going to come in and claim, I won this many national championships. And Martin Jarmon last year can claim, these are facts, UCLA won the most conference championships in the Big Ten last year. UCLA won like 3 or 4 national championships last year. And so the athletic director at UCLA is always going to be able to claim this stuff. But I think the fact that, the football program has gotten to this point, the fan base has gotten to this point, this is unprecedented territory, even for UCLA that hasn't been very nationally competitive for 20 years. To lose by that much to New Mexico at home, and to be at this level, it's unprecedented. And we've talked about this before, right? Like, we all see the pictures, we see like what the games are looking like, but UCLA folks do have some pride, and this is embarrassing even for them. And so these are, again, we talk about, we want hope. There's a new chancellor in place. Julio Frank comes from Miami, and where, over there, a similar pattern happened, right? A lot of, fan attendance issues, was their commitment to the football program, the whole deal. And he took a lot of that to heart. He fired Manny Diaz, got in Mario Cristobal, put a lot of emphasis into NIL fundraising. The whole deal in Miami is what it is today. You hope some stuff like that can happen at UCLA. But you don't know. The fact that this change has happened so quickly is, something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll say this. We'll get right back to this stuff in a second, but the whole fan attendance thing, with how much that went widespread, did kind of bother me. I'm no UCLA apologist or anything. Obviously, I run a Big Ten football podcast. I want them to do well, and basketball as well, which, Mick Cronin seems to be doing okay over there right now. But we don't need to talk about that. We'll move on to the different subject. But this was South Carolina this weekend. I mean, let's let's also not come too hard at UCLA when it's early on in the year and maybe not every student is there yet, because other schools also have attendance stuff that goes on as well. So again, not necessarily a UCLA apologist, but the big bad SEC looks like they could improve their attendance in one area as well. All right, back to the UCLA stuff. Anyway,
we have a quota of how many digs to the SEC we have to get in on every episode, just so you know, Kevin.
I like it. Tell me if I got to get one in, and I'll find a place to do it.
At least two.
Free at any time. At any time.
Let's do it.
Green light the entire time. So I do want to come up here. Maybe this is your opportunity to snatch an SEC coach or something like that. But where does this kind of go from here with the coaching hire and everything else? I mean, I listened to a couple different national podcasts, and they were talking about they're not sure if UCLA is going to be able to go out and get a sitting head coach in a Power 4 school or anything. I think the job is better than most Big 12 and most ACC jobs personally. Just the connection to the Big Ten than anything else. But I also understood some of the concerns they were getting at NIL stuff that you talked about, Kevin, with the administration as well. So kind of let's frame this in two different ways. Kind of give me some of your dream candidates that you would look for, and then maybe some maybe more realistic, not like we're going to settle for these guys or anything, but just some more realistic options out there as well.
The irony in this, I think, is like this time the quote unquote dream candidates are the candidates that UCLA probably would have ended up with if they fired Chip Kelly in November of 2023, which is Jonathan Smith is from Pasadena. He is from the area. He has, depending on who you believe with this stuff, like he likes UCLA. He likes the area. And so like that's a connection. Jed Fish was a coach at UCLA, then he coached at the Rams, and he really likes LA. So like these are coaches that, again, like at that time, those moves hadn't happened, and UCLA was in prime position to go and get them. That didn't happen. Now they're in Big Ten schools of their own right. That's probably going to be tough, right? And so like, but those I think would be dreams. The other ways you could go, and it's going to be interesting to see if UCLA wants to go in this direction, is like Deshaun was a running backs coach, but it is a common thing to go find an up and coming coordinator that is very proven at the coordinator level, very hungry, is motivated to do very well. I think about Will Stein or Tosh Lapoy, out at Oregon. I think about like those kind of coaches. Tony White was someone that I think a lot of UCLA fans, even when Chip Kelly was left in February and that search was going on, that's the direction that they wanted to go. Had proven defensive coordinator at Nebraska, now is doing his thing at Florida State. So these are, I think, some of the directions to go. Going to be interesting to see if UCLA wants to have that kind of risk profile factored in this time, given what they just went through. They did just go through a coach that didn't have head coaching experience before. The stuff about the job, I think, is going to be really interesting because, all the stuff comes out today about, again, who can they go and get, and the administration, the whole thing. I think the positive about making this change right now is that UCLA now has like 12 weeks to reset their narrative on this, right? So they can go out and they can show coaches like, this is what we got, and these are the packages we're going to put together, and this is what we got in terms of NIL. I mean, if you believe the stuff that's behind the scenes on this, this was the work of a lot of donors and a lot of big people at UCLA who were just embarrassed by this whole thing. And the history of UCLA suggests that there are usually moments like this where they come together, and then you got to ride that momentum. And so again, this is 12 weeks to kind of change that perception. Is the job desirable, not desirable? These are all like, nice barbershop conversations to have. For me, first of all, like I'm not of the opinion that I think any Power 4 school, if they have the right set of people in place and they have the right set of circuit things in place, like you can succeed. We have seen like TCU go to the national title game. We have seen, Cincinnati make playoffs, like, and last year with a bunch of, so I am never one to put limitations on any of this. UCLA by itself, again, like it's the number one public school in the world, the most applied to school in the world. It's a massive school in Los Angeles that does have a history of football, winning in football. It's not like it's never been done here. And if UCLA can ride this wave. They have canceled the athletic department debt. They've now done this. There are signs that they want to go in a different direction. Also in today's day and age, football is going to be more important generally to a public school because that's the thing that's going to keep the rest of your athletics going. And so time will tell if UCLA is going to ride this momentum on.
Well, I will just say really fast, the blue uniforms, anybody should want to go play in those things, and in those helmets as well. It's some of the most beautiful uniforms in all of college football. And also, Kevin, I got to give you props, man. You just went through a coaching candidate segment, and you did not mention Matt Campbell or PJ Fleck. Like, man, props to you. Holy cow. I don't know if I've ever seen that on a podcast before.
I am married into an Iowa State family.
Okay.
And I don't know if they'll appreciate me talking about Matt Campbell on here. PJ Fleck was already like kind of a part of the whole thing last time.
Yeah, last year.
With all that. I don't know how much y'all believe in this. Like, I do think there's something to be said about, cultural fit, and there's something to be said about, generally like, personality fit at schools. I think anyone can succeed anywhere. That's all true. Right. But like, Matt Campbell has always been in the Midwest. Is he going to like it out in the West Coast? PJ Fleck, kind of similar deal there, right? So these are going to just be interesting things on how much UCLA factors all that into the calculus. Kalen DeBoer wasn't a West Coast guy until he was, right? And so these are all going to be things that going to be interesting to see if they factor into the calculus.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly don't want to have to end up with like a Brian Kelly at LSU situation where he's making up a Cajun accent. That would
How
be.
How dare you ask about if my offense is converting on third down? How dare?
I mean, geez, what a punk!
Watch what question you ask next, Zach. Kevin will not have any of those questions.
So about that offense, no, yeah. So I think maybe the biggest thing you're talking about packages, NIL, but there is a reality of right now. And so a couple things triggered with the firing of Deshaun Foster. One is the 30-day window for transfers. The other, and we were talking about this off air, students still haven't started classes yet. And so there's a very real reality. Like students could transfer, and I don't know how quick they could re-enroll in another school. That's probably too far. But the reality is there's a lot of uncertainty with the roster. What are you hearing about the players? How are the players responding to this? How are commits responding to all that's going down right now?
This has happened really fast. I mean, it's been a wild 48 hours. And so there's really, I think, little news on the roster right now. So yes, we are on quarter system at UCLA. School does not start until next week, I believe. And so it's usually always, the fourth game of the season when school is actually in session and students are out at games and the whole deal. So there's very little news on the roster. I would expect something to happen. That's just the nature of college football today. I would expect some of that stuff to happen. There's also the current recruiting class to think about where I think if there's been 2 or 3 decommitments today, I'm sure more is coming. I think this recruiting class is like an interesting one to look at, right? Because this, once again, we talked about the job profile. It's a top, I haven't seen the exact latest ranking, but it was a top 25 class for a long time. And that was despite kind of what was going on for a while at UCLA. And so out of that, yes, like some of the top commitments, Johnny Jones out of Florida and some of the folks, they have gone ahead and decommitted, and I would expect more of that to happen. But generally, this recruiting has never been a very hard thing to do at UCLA in any sport. And so, you talk about job profile, you talk about all those things, the things UCLA doesn't have going for it, distracted market, it's hard to ride momentum with fans for sure. All that is absolutely true. The pros, it's a massive school, does have a history of success, and does have players, which are important in sports. Players are important pieces of this.
Gotta have the players if you want to field the team, if nothing else. So, no, Kevin, we really appreciate you coming on, man. Some of these questions are obviously a little bit more difficult to answer. Hopefully, we had a little bit of fun doing it all together. And when UCLA makes their next hire, maybe we'll have you back on for that one and grade it all and everything, and you can let us know if you're happy with it or not. How's that sound?
That sounds like a plan. That sounds
All
like
right.
I'm not going to be here for a 10-2 show, so that sounds like a plan.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll schedule that
Not
one
this year, but maybe in the future.
1 year. 1 year.
1 year. I am putting it on the calendar now. All right. Kevin, thank you so much for coming in here and helping with that. Just tell people where they can find Bruin Source one more time.
Yeah, again, we are at Bruin Source. It's myself, it's Zed, it's Isaiah who do this. It's a fun project for us. We're on social media. We're on Twitter. You can find our podcasts usually once a week on wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole deal. Come listen to us.
Very good. And they are part of the College Huddle together. We are part of Believe, but College Huddle as well. It's where you can find the largest, I believe it's the largest network of fan-made podcasts out there. And personally for me, I enjoy fan-made podcasts so much more because it's less of kind of the fluff that you get, and there's kind of more freedom to maybe scream at the head coach and just kind of go off for a little bit, as Zach has done maybe a time or two on this show.
Hey. Okay, you're right.
You fired like 3 coaches so far this season. We're in week 3 now. One of them hit for you, but I don't think that makes it you can fire 3 more or anything.
I have not fired Kirk Ferentz. I've just planned a retirement party for him. Okay, there's a difference.
Same thing. All right,
it's not the same.
We've gotten to the point where we've talked about Kirk Ferentz now, so I think the UCLA show here has gone off the rails.
Okay.
Chip Kelly talked to Kirk Ferentz about the offensive coordinator job there, So
that did happen as well.
There's our connection. There's our connection.
I think I mentioned that. I think I mentioned that in the Friday live stream or whatever after that game. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's a connection. All right. Anyway, thank you everybody for listening, and thank you Kevin for coming on, and thank you Zach for being here as well. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Go Bruins.